Go ahead, Michelle. We'll have you start talking a little bit about that 8th grade transition.
Sure. So transition in schools, planning for post-secondary begins in 8th grade and middle school when kids turn 14. And typically parents and students might be a little bit surprised by that because kids are only 14 years old, but it really is a process and does begin at that point in time. For Hannah, she did really well with that transition. She did get a power chair at that point in time because at her middle school she would walk with her walker, but knowing that when she went to high school it'd be a much bigger environment, and so she did do a trial for a power chair and did obtain a power chair. And then another transition period would be towards the end of high school when either a student is going to graduate and receive their diploma, or whether they're going to go on to that 4+ program, which, because Hannah has an IEP, that entitles her to be able to go to school until she's 21 years old. And so that's where Hannah got enrolled into the Project Search program. And that IEP was a long IEP. It was a process to get everything in place for Hannah to get her to go to Project Search. But all of the pieces really did fall into place with all the team members. Hannah being the most important, being willing and ready and to take on that new task. So Hannah did really well with all of those transitions. As far as OT and PT, our job really is to make sure that we have prepared for the meeting and that we have done, if we need to do further assessment of the student for that transition, that we do that. And then we're present for the meeting. And if we have done assessments, to make sure that we are telling parents and the team members about what we found during assessment, and that then allowing the team to know that we are available for any modifications that would need to be made on a job site or even in this quote school environment at Project Search. So I think that's our main job as OTs and PTs, just to have the team know we are available, because sometimes teams will say, we didn't know that we still had you available after graduation, and we're always available. Until that student is done and receives their diploma, they're not done with us. So, right, Hannah?
Yeah. Can't give you up yet.
You sure can't.
No, I love Michelle.
I love it. Hannah, do you want to talk a little bit, starting kind of in your 8th grade transition year to Roosevelt, some things that really stood out to you as helping to make you successful in those environments as you move forward?
Yeah. Some of those, mail was so small that we could just walk around, but then when Roosevelt is, my middle school mail and the other middle school, Callahan, combined, so it's double the size. And then, so I still use a power wheelchair, which we tried in middle school for just a couple hours a day. Then now I use it just all over Roosevelt and all over Methodist when I am in Project Search. And that was so nice, so I'm not just exhausted at the end of the day. Then that was kind of the transition to high school. Then as we work up to high school, we have to think about, where am I going to live? Where am I going to work? Where am I going to, just some of those functional living, supportive living kind of things. So we go and kind of say, when are we going to work? What do I like? What do I not like? Then we go and we
Create goals?
Yeah, create goals. We create goals for me to go and become an employee, and that's kind of what we're working on now.
And Hannah, did you have academic goals as well and expectations for graduation that you were working on?
Yeah, I was in the 4 333 requirements, so the regular, student has to do. I had an IEP, so academic. I had a reading goal and a math goal and no PT, no OT. Sorry, Michelle, you could just help with problem solving. That was about it. Then, yeah, that was really all I had for my IEP. Just some of those accommodations were great. I was in co-taught classes. And then as things got kind of harder my senior year, we went to the self-contained, which is just a special ed classroom versus a gen ed with a special ed teacher in the room.
Did you have a favorite class?
Yeah, I really like some of those, like algebra, kind of those geometry, and some of those math classes were harder because there's not a why behind it. Algebra is more of kind of a why behind it. Yeah, so.
What other requirements does Des Moines have for graduation that you met and worked on? I think this is the silver cord question.
Yeah, it wasn't a requirement, but
Or just tell me a little bit about silver cord and what it is and what it means to you to do it and how you got it.
So silver cord, it's not a requirement, but you can choose to get over the course of 4 years, 120 hours of volunteer hours. So 30 hours a year. So I've volunteered 30 hours a year every year to get a silver cord on my neck as I walked across the stage at graduation. There's not very many kids that have OTs and PTs and on IEPs that do that, but I did it, so.
What types of things did you volunteer?
We rang Salvation Army bells, volunteered at Meals from the Heartland, packaging meals for countries that don't have the food and nutrition that they need. What else did we do? We volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House, cooking meals for the parents of kids in the hospital at Methodist, actually. So, yeah.
So you've met all the requirements for graduation academically, and you've achieved the silver cord recognition. Talk a little bit about graduation and what that looked like, and how did that work?
Yeah, it was really a kind of a tough thing. Am I gonna actually walk across the stage, or am I gonna do it in my power wheelchair? In the end, we decided that I truly walked across the stage. Michelle was a big part of that. I had some weakness in my left hand too, along with the OT, but am I gonna shake and grab with my left, or am I gonna shake then grab? And that's what I did have a bag that they just put it in, and then that was a lot easier, and they had ramps on both sides of the stage, and I walked across the stage, and
How'd that feel?
it was just a million pounds lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, I like school, but not as much as I didn't want to stay there forever.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
When you think about, so after graduation ceremony, then are you done with school, or what have you been doing since then, or how does that look now that you're 19 and you've walked across the stage?
I could have been done, but I chose to get some more education and job training at Project Search, which is a 4+ program that's actually international. So I'm at the hospital at Methodist Hospital, but there's one's at Hy-Vee, there's one pretty much anywhere really. Then you work in that site, in that location, 3 different 10-week rotations throughout the course of the year. Then hopefully the goal is to get hired on one of those rotations. And we're crossing our fingers we have a possible rotations that want to hire me, so yeah.
And how long will you be in Project Search?
We follow the Des Moines Public Schools calendar, so it's a school year. However, when they have a snow day, we have a snow day. If they have a professional development day, we have a professional development day. So we follow the exact calendar.
Will you be in this now until you're 21 doing different rotations, or?
We'll kind of wrap up this year. Then we'll see. You can go on to another 4+ program till you're 21, or you can exit your IEP, which means, just what it sounds like, wrap up your IEP and go get employment and go on with your life. And
how do you make that decision if you're going to wrap it up or if you're going to keep going? Have you decided?
No. We're gonna, you can wrap it up really at any time. You don't have to wait till the summer. If I get a job, we can just say I'm out of here and go on. And the bad thing is that we won't get to see Jess and Michelle anymore. But
So when you think about transitioning to that employment, then are there resources to call if you need assistance once you're out of the IEP program and out of the Des Moines Public Schools and you decide I'm done, I got a job, I'm moving on? What's the transition into that kind of world? Are there still supports available to you?
There is private supports where you would just have to go to a clinic or whatever and say I'm having trouble with this and then just kind of try and figure it out. Otherwise, you can just consult with Michelle, but she can't really see me,
You seem to have a really good understanding of how to access supports, where to go if you need help, things like that. How did you get that? Is that just something because of Michelle and the OTs and PTs? Is it your teachers? How does that awareness and understanding of where to get support come from? And even the waiver you talked about earlier, you seem to understand that.
My mom is an OT and occupational therapist so she's super knowledgeable about this stuff, and I really rely on her for a lot of that stuff. But I participate in my IEP meetings and try and get some of that knowledge, and it comes with time. Really, I've had 7 OTs and probably 7 PTs since I was born, so counting Michelle and
you've been learning as you've been going through this.
Yeah.
Since we were tracking that. Do you think that's and Michelle, that's probably pretty intentional on the part of the IEP team and the OTs and PTs to build that knowledge in with students that you're working with?
Right. We do expect or ask that students at that transition time start attending their IEP meetings so that they can hear exactly what we're talking about, and it's not happening to them, that they're part of that team, they're part of the decision making. And Hannah always attended her meetings and would always speak about what she wanted. Her parents were always very good about allowing that, encouraging that. So that we had Hannah's perspective, so that we weren't, again, just doing things to Hannah, but we were making her a part of that team, that IEP team.
It feels like there's a real purposeful sense of building the ability to advocate for self in this transition.
Mm-hmm. The self-advocacy piece is really, really important as Hannah, starts to, transition to that adulthood, and for her to be able to ask for help if she needs it is really important. And that starts at a young age. That can start in middle school. That can start even in elementary school. But that really needs to be part of her everyday skills, that she needs to be able to say, yes, I do need some help, or no, thank you, I appreciate you offering, but I don't need your help right now. I can do it independently. And so that's a big piece of what we as OTs and PTs should be working on is students advocating for themselves as they navigate their educational environments and then work environments, and then hopefully the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have plans for where you're going to live, and are those types of things in play as well? Or
Oh.
What's your...
Yeah, we'll kind of it's a little bit up in the air right now. We have some condos over by kind of west of Milwaukee, over by kind of Jordan Creek, where they're building a complex for kind of for young adults with special needs. So they're under construction right now. So once we can get in there and look at them, we'll kind of make a decision. Or we're looking at kind of a family ran group home where I can live with, maybe a couple friends or a couple roommates that have kind of similar needs as I do, and come and kind of have staff from the waiver come in and kind of help with some of those bath aid, cooking, some of those skills that I haven't 100% mastered yet.
Any big goals for the next little bit here, next year or two? Anything you're working really hard towards?
Probably moving out away from mom and dad and kind of getting a little more independence, maybe employability, skills, just some of that general stuff.
Well, sounds like you've got a lot of stuff in the hopper.
Yeah.
I love it.